really don't know how to do that without it most likely looking really stupid. The first major issue with the cabinet suite, I kind of screwed up some of the planning on this. It was a pain in the ass. It is early Thursday morning before work. So last night I came out here. I was moving stuff around and I was playing my guitar, so I brought it back out here and was rearranging some stuff. I've had this box of random electrical stuff in here since forever ago, and under that was a notepad that had some random notes on about fan measurements and stuff, and the notepad was all wet. It was sitting in there, and I don't know why. So I'm not sure if I spilled something at one point and it's just stayed wet since whenever I spilled it over here, soaking up in that notepad, and there's not really any like sunlight hitting it because it's underneath all this stuff, or if there's some kind of a leak, most likely from the window, but I don't know where it would be leaking from the window, because one, I tested it after I fully did all that sealant stuff on it and made sure that it wasn't leaking, so I don't think it would be that. And if it was that, I would think it would be leaking from the top, not from the bottom. So I would expect there to be water somewhere coming out here, landing on here, but there's nothing there. So I don't know where the hell that came from, so I'm just gonna have to keep monitoring it, and next time it rains, just check to see if it's getting wetter or not. I'm really hoping it's not anything window related. I mean, if it is, I can just add more sealant to the outside, but I really don't feel like ripping apart this wall that has insulation in it and everything to try to add more sealant on that side. But yeah, I have no idea where this water came from, so like I said, I'm just gonna have to keep watching it and see what the hell's happening here. I don't know when it got there, because like I said, it was all soaked up into that notepad, so I don't know if it's just been there all wet and sitting in the darkness under here for a while, or if it's been a couple of days. I have no idea. But you can see it's a little bit up on that wall there, and then down here on the floor. So yeah, so hopefully everything is okay, and it's just like I just built something at one point and forgot about it or whatever, and everything just dries up and it's fine. Because I don't, like I said, don't feel like ripping anything apart here. That would be a huge project, taking apart all these different panels, especially because I have the the windowsill kind of things in there now. Some of the stuff is glued in, there's sealant on stuff, so it would be a huge pain, not to mention all the insulation that's under there that would be coming out, and I have to put it back in. So I'm hoping everything is just okay. I really don't think it's related to the window, because it's rained plenty of times before I built this, where then this area was like hidden, and before I put the thing on top of it and stuff. And I mean, there was no water before even the walls were up. The only time there was water was when I first put the windows in and realized that they each had tiny little leaks, and then I fixed that and there weren't any more leaks. So I don't know what that is from or how old it is, but I guess I'm just gonna leave this up today. Hopefully you can get some, I mean, it's already got airflow with the way that I built this, but I don't know, try to let some light hit it maybe, and hopefully that'll dry up there. And yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what the hell that's from. Maybe it's even from this, because these were originally over there on this side for a couple days, and in the paintbrush that I was using, it like retains some amount of water from when I cleaned it out. So I don't know if when I was staining these, it got the stain and some water on it, and then some of the water like ran off of it or something. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, they were all dry when I put them in here, so I don't think it would be that. But I have no idea where it's from, but hopefully it just dries up and there's no more issues, but we'll find out. Alright guys, so it is Saturday. It's basically the start of van week 2, except that's going to be like the next video because this is going to be like today and tomorrow. And the starting Monday will be the next video. So the goal right now is doing the cabinets over on this side. So I need to do some measuring to figure out how long of a 2x4 I'm going to need to go from over there to wherever it's going to end over here. I think I have a piece of wood going all the way to this point right here, so I can basically just go all the way over if I want, or if I want to stop where that is or whatever. So basically the idea is, I'm going to try to explain it. We have a 2x4 going along here, and then 2x4s coming out for those 14 inches for the depth from there. And then I'm going to have a 2x4 going across the top, and 2x4s going down to connect to the other ones that are sticking out, and that'll be basically the whole structure of the cabinets going across. And then I just need to do the wood along the bottom, the sides, and then doing the stuff going along the front, the little doors. Yeah, sounds very easy, but it's gonna be a huge project. But first I'm gonna go ahead and rip off all the tape in here. I've been noticing every time I get in here I have these weird blue lights, and it's because I still have the tape. So I still got tape all over here from painting the ceiling and all these little pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove that, and then organize some of this wood in here. I'm still waiting on the pieces to make the table, the legs for it basically. I ordered it from one place and they never shipped it, so I finally had to. I tried contacting their customer support like 3 times and they wouldn't respond, so I had to dispute it with my credit card company. Now I was able to order 1 from Amazon, but I couldn't order 2 for some reason. I guess they're that low on them. So that's going to come in at some point, so I can at least have 1 table. And then whenever they get more, I can order another one to do the other one. So yeah, and at some point I'm going to work on the bits that I need to be able to get these stuck up against the wall. For this side I'm going to have to do the wood over here before I can really do that. But that side should be all good now because this side has all that wood there, and that side now is all done, so I can go ahead and get the hooks in there and all that fun stuff. Okay, so I measured from the top point over here. I was originally going to measure down here, but then I realized if I put the wood over here, I have to then like angle the side of the cabinet, and I'm not going to try to do that. That's going to be a huge issue. So I just measured from here, going all the way over to the end there, and it's just under 8 foot. I was thinking I was going to need to get like longer 2x4s, because the standard is usually like 8 foot, but I was thinking I was going to need like maybe a 10 foot or something. But I can just get the 8 foot one, so I'm going to get 2 of those for the ones that are going to go completely across here at the bottom and along the top here, and then just a bunch more to chop up for all those pieces that go in between connecting those. I am going to check on the weather though, because we are getting a couple sprinkles out there, so I'm going to see if I should go pick up that wood or if I should just work on something else real quick right now while it's not downpouring. Like I could try to get this wood taken care of out of here, and then deal with picking up the 2x4s later on and deal with that when it's a little bit drier, since that's going to be much bigger of a project and probably involve more time being outside cutting stuff, whereas this is pretty quick cuts. So I'm going to check on that weather and figure out what I'm doing here. Okay, so I decided I'm just going to start out with this stuff going up the side here to get this wood just out of the way. I have no idea what's going on with the weather, because it said it wasn't supposed to rain until like 11 tonight, but it was raining as I was looking at the weather, so I don't know. I don't know if it's visible here. Let me get this out of the way. But there is this weird thing here. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen this anywhere else in the van, but it's there. So when I am cutting this, I'm going to have to make a little notch in there, I guess, to go around that. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and work my way on up here, just like I did all back there and everything. Hopefully I have enough to get that done. If not, I can pick up another piece or 2 when I'm getting the wood for the cabinet stuff. But this is a lot. wider, and there's a lot to go all the way up there, and then also going across compared to over there, it's really thin stuff, so we'll see how far I get here. Okay, so all I did was, the nice thing about doing this side is I can somewhat trace it. There's obviously this stuff here kind of blocking it, but I can get a general idea for tracing it. I went ahead and drilled just a small hole to start down here, and then little by little work my way up all the way to the biggest bit I have, 1/4, and that's just about enough to get that to fit all the way on there. So I'm thinking once I drill and put the screws in, that'll tighten it last bit up and squeeze it on there, and so yeah, that'll be good, and then it'll be like nice and flush up against there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some screws in there, and we'll be ready to move on to the next piece going on up there. Okay, so this whole section here is done. Everything looks good. This one, I'm not sure if I have it hanging over too much or not. Like when I do the cabinets here, if this is going to be kind of in the way, I wanted to make sure it's far over enough that when I do the cabinets, there's not like a gap here where like the metal stuff is showing. But if it's kind of hanging out too much here, or it's like at an angle or something, I can always just pop out these screws, take another slice off going up there, and put it back up. And now I'm going to go ahead and work on getting across here. The best I can. There's obviously this curve going on here. I don't know how that's going to work, but I can definitely at least get this whole zone going out to here, and then we'll see what the hell I decide to do up here. I just realized that sticky stuff is still on here from when I removed that like months ago. Ripped off that foam piece that was up here. So yeah, I'm going to see what the hell I can do with this zone, but I'm going to start off with the easier stuff over here. Okay, so I think this whole section is basically done, other than, you know, just painting at some point. That area over there, I really don't know how to do that without it most likely looking really stupid because it's curved. So I think I'm just going to leave it just how that is. And yeah, so I think that part of the project is done there. Alright, just got back from Lowe's. So I got 4 of the 2x4x8s. So that way, like I said before, I have one going completely across here, another one's going to go somewhere up there, and then the pieces that are going to go down from the top and come out from the bottom one. So yeah, so this is the start of this next adventure here. So my idea is one of these I'm going to go ahead and put up here. I'm going to screw in based on where the screws are. That I know, you know, that's where the boards are behind it. So I'll go ahead and do that. That way it's all pre-drilled, screwed, everything's all lined up good. And then I'll go ahead and make markings where I want to put the pieces that are going to stick out from it. And then basically what I'm going to do, the first board is going to go kind of like flat up against here. The other ones are going to stick out. The total distance from the wall out to wherever it ends is going to be, what, like 12.5 inches or whatever, because then I'm going to add on that 1.5 inches from the piece coming down. So that way it's 14 inches sticking out. And going up, it should be about 14 inches. But obviously because of the curve of this, I don't know the exact distance. So once I have those pieces on there, basically I have to take that whole piece off, install all the individual pieces that are going to stick out, put it back up, and then I'll go ahead and measure and figure out, you know, where that lines up. And then I know, okay, I'm going to put this piece, you know, here or wherever it's going to be, and then I can measure the distance that's going to take to go from that piece down to meet up with the other pieces. So yeah, hopefully that kind of makes sense. I know some people basically build it all entirely outside and then move it inside and hook it up. But I feel like that's harder, requires like several people to work with, especially if you're making a cabinet that goes the entire length. Whereas this way, I'm hoping I can pretty much do everything just on my own. It's going to be a little bit tough just because of the 8 feet length of the pieces to work with. But as long as I can get it kind of be stable and get a couple screws in it, then everything should be good. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stop talking and start messing around with this wood here. Alright, so I picked up these from Lowe's. These were the longest metal screws I could find, like the other ones I used. But they're only 2 inches. I was hoping they would be big enough
because 2x4s aren't actually 2 inches. That seems to only be sticking out a tiny bit there, so I'm kind of worried about that. But I do have these 2.5 inch ones that say they can be used on metal along with other stuff. So I might go ahead and try to use those instead. That gives me quite a bit of extra length there to really grip into the wall and ceiling. Okay, so what I did, I held it up there and just marked with lines going across anywhere where one of those studs are, whatever you want to call them. And now I'm going to go ahead and just make a hole going into each of these spots. I figured that way it'll make it easier to already have this kind of pre-drilled before I put it up there and try to drill it, into the actual wall itself. We'll see how well that works. So I'm gonna grab the drill and start making some holes here. Okay, so I only have one screw in here so far. But I was actually holding up because it's balancing on this, because the white wood is like thicker than the piece I used back here, so it's kind of just balancing along that. But I put that screw in and then immediately went outside to double check, make sure I didn't screw up anything, and put a screw through the side of the van, because there's some pretty big screws. And I went out there and there was like a mark in this general area out there. So I got like the ladder out there and everything, and it turns out just some like dirt on there. So just random coincidence, happened to be in a similar area, but so far it is going good. I mean, there's only one screw in there, but it's already balancing up there just with even one screw. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a whole bunch more screws in this, and we are starting to get a couple raindrops. I don't know what that's gonna turn into. This piece I obviously don't really need to do anything with other than putting screw-ins, but for the next pieces that are gonna be coming out of it, I'm gonna need to be cutting, so hopefully that rain doesn't get too crazy. Okay, so I got a screw-in at that end, and then the first one I put in down there. So it is gonna be having a gap along here just because the curvature of the van as usual. But yeah, so that's just how it is. 2x4s don't move, bend like the like the stud pieces I put under here and stuff like that. So it's just gonna end up having that weird kind of gap on there. But it's not a big deal. It's not like it's huge. There's not gonna be anything like falling through there or anything. And if anything, if I wanted to like run a wire up through there for some reason, I could probably get something small in there. So yeah, so that is going good. I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of the screws here along the middle, and then hopefully start doing some cutting and get that going. Okay, so all those screws are in there. When I did this one, I actually did get it to push in a little bit to kind of close that gap up there. But over here, the gap is quite big. Nothing crazy. The only thing I'm worried about is, I mean, right now it seems to be holding, but all it's holding is just itself. So once there's a lot more weight on it with the rest of the cabinet itself and stuff in the cabinet, I'm just kind of hoping that that screw got in there deep enough to hook on. But I mean, that's in there, that one's all in there, this one's really good, and that one's good. It's just those two that are a little bit further out from the wall, so I'm not sure how deep that screw got on there, but as far as I can tell, I don't know if they are in there. I don't know if I'm just not sure how deep it got into the stud. But yeah, so this is all out of focus now. There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing some measuring and making some marks on one of these 2x4s. And right now it's feeling kind of humid and gross all of a sudden. Earlier was actually a pretty nice day other than just being super cloudy, but now it's getting pretty humid. But so far, no downpouring rain, so I'm going to try to get some cutting done. This camera just does not focus on anything. It's just everything is a blur on this camera now. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to do the measurements, calculate out what it's going to need to work out to be for these lengths, so everything adds up to be 14 inches, and then do some cutting. Okay, so what I did here, I marked out 3.5 length. I don't know how deep, tall this is. It's not the right size, but I just want to make out the length 3.5 inches to show where the 2x4s are going to connect under here. So I marked out across here 5 spots, so it's going to create 4 basically sections of the cabinet going across. I thought I was making them all equal, and then I realized I didn't actually mark out the spots on the ends. So when I put those in, now the end ones are like 18.5 inches, and the other ones are like 20 inches. But that's okay. I have cabinets that are slightly smaller and slightly larger. I mean, some things might need to have that bigger space or smaller space, so I'm fine with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut. So basically, because this is 1.5 inches thick, and the other one that's coming down is also going to be 1.5 inches, so 3 inches. I want them to stick out 14 inches, so I need to make 11-inch pieces, a total of 5 of them, I believe, if I'm looking at this right. So I'm going to go ahead and measure that out and put that all on one of these 2x4s and get those cut out. And then once that's all cut out, I can go ahead and take this back down. I'm just going to double check that none of these are going to be blocked. Alright, so the only thing I need to worry about is this one right here. I just realized that 2x4 that I put on here blocks this screw hole. I might need to shift that one over, or I don't know, drop it down or do something, or maybe just make the screw hole higher. I don't know, I'll have to look at that once I get that cut out. But otherwise, they're all good, so I can take the holding down, drill from the back side of this in, and attach those pieces, and then put everything back up. Sounds easy. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so first major issue with the cabinetry. So everything was looking good here. I went ahead and held this up to each spot on my way down. Down here, seems like if I put it just a hair lower, you know, I'll be able to still get that screw in, hopefully. But that's not the issue. Issue is that in all these spots, it seems to be angled downward. And it's not because of how I cut it, because this is actually the side that wasn't cut. What it actually seems like is that because of the weird shape of the van, this piece of wood itself is actually tilted forward, like the top is tilted down, even though it's drilled, you know, straight into the wall. And I have no idea how to change something like that. So I am not sure what I'm going to do about that, but I'm going ahead and just take a little break here and figure out how do I fix that? Do I need to fix that? Is it okay for them to be kind of slanted? I don't know. I'm going to look into this and try to figure it out. Okay, so I can't figure out how to do this in a better way unless I do the method of building it all outside and bring it inside, and I don't think I have the ability to do that. One, with my carpentry skills are not nearly good enough to figure out how to do that properly, and also just the size and weight of that, trying to get that in here and screw it into the wall and ceiling, that whole 8-foot long contraption, I think would just be a disaster. I'd probably just end up smashing the shit out of everything and the whole cabinet would break apart or something. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go with this the way that it is, and once I drill everything all together, it should all just kind of be fine. It might have a little bit of a slant to it, but I'm kind of okay with that because I have plenty of headroom when I'm sitting here anyway, so I think it's gonna be okay. Okay, so I got all 5 pieces cut out here, go up there. Before I start, I think I am going to go ahead and move that screw up there while I have everything all still attached. So I'll take that out, drill a new hole a little bit higher, put the screw in to make sure, you know, hits the wood and everything is all good. Then I'm going to go ahead and take everything out, take that wood outside, and work on attaching all of these pieces to it, so when I bring it back in, I can put the screws back in and it'll be all good up there, and I can work on the thing that's going across the ceiling. I don't know if I'm going to get to that tonight. Depends on how quick this whole process goes. I'm not sure how tough that's going to be to attach these from the back and then get it back in here. So I'll see how far I can get tonight, and then I might end up either tonight or maybe just put it off till tomorrow, start working on attaching thing going across the roof or the ceiling, whatever, and attaching to the stuff hanging down here. Okay, so I got the first one on here. What I decided to do was I made 2 holes on either side of the kind of like X I made here, and then I put the piece on top, and I went underneath of it, drilled up into one of the holes that I already made and hit into this piece. Then I put the screw going up into there to kind of help lock it into place, and then I went up and drilled on this side and put the screw on that side. Yeah, so that's how I did it. It takes a little bit of time, you know, just kind of drilling, putting there, drilling again, but that's the best idea of how to do this, because I don't see a way of flipping this over and doing it, because I don't think that this piece is going to just balance nicely on top of 5 of these wobbly pieces. So alright, we are getting some raindrops, so I'm going to try to get this done here as quick as I can, because I don't know if this is going to turn into real rain or what's going to happen, but I want to get this back inside before it gets all wet. So I probably won't do much filming until it's back inside. Okay, so these are all on here, and as I was putting in the last screw, I realized I kind of screwed up some of the planning on this. It's still going to work, but for some reason I was picturing just this lining up with the thing coming down from the ceiling, and that's it. And I realized I need to have another solid 2x4 going across where everything meets up. Otherwise there's just empty space where everything's going to fall out. So yeah, so everything's still gonna work. Just I'm glad I figured it out now before I got any further. So I'm gonna take one of these 2x4s, and it's gonna go ahead and attach basically, you know, going this way where the wider part is going up. So it's still gonna have the exact same measurement, distance from the wall, so it's still gonna equal out to 14. It's just that instead of meeting up with a piece coming down from the ceiling going here, it's gonna have that, and then the pieces that go to the ceiling is going to attach to that somehow. I don't know how that's going to work. I got to think about that more. Okay, so that is in there. It was a pain in the ass, but it's in there. It feels pretty secure. I might end up picking up, I'm definitely going to pick up more 2.5-inch screws. I might end up picking up like 3-inch screws for the couple spots on here that are a little bit further out, just to make it that much more secure, to make sure it really gets into that stud. Yeah, so what I'm thinking is, instead of having that other piece like I was just saying attached here, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the one straight from the ceiling attach, and then going across I'll use like the pieces I use for the studs, and for the outside here I'll use that just going across, because I was trying to figure out how am I going to attach if I have a 2x4 unit there and I have one coming down. The only way to do it really is like do the weird angle kind of screws, and I'm not a big fan of doing that. I don't feel like it's as nearly as secure as going straight into something else. So yeah, so I think that's the game plan. So I'm gonna let this just be here for the night. Hopefully it stays up. Tomorrow I will go out in the morning, pick up more 2.5-inch screws, more 3-inch screws. Yeah, and then I'm also going to end up at some point needing wood to go across the bottom, the sides, the wood, like I said, the same go across here, and make the doors and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's on there. Some of them seem kind of slanted down here. That one actually seems like a little loose, but that'll tighten up once I attach the other one. And you can see it can, once I raise it up, it gets a lot better level. But looking down there, I feel like towards the end it gets more level. Over here I feel like it's got some more sagging going on. But that can be fixed once I get the piece up there on. I can just lift this up when I screw it in, and that'll hold it in place. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get some food and just relax, figure out what I need to clean up here, and tomorrow I'll get those screws and finish up the kind of like the skeleton of this big ass cabinet here, and then see where we get from there. Alright, it is Sunday morning. I picked up those bigger screws there, so I'm going to go ahead and replace those two that are sticking out further. I just noticed that a nice big gash here going down, so I'm going to have to do something about that at some point. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and replace those screws and then figure out what I'm doing next. Alright, so I am going to go ahead and start working on pieces that need to be cut to come down here. I did the measurements, and it's actually different going all the way across here for whatever reason, just because the weird shape of the van, I guess.
So this was like, I feel like this end was closer to like 12 inches, whereas down there was like 15 inches. So I'm just going to cut them to actually 13.5 inches because of the 1.5 of the 2x4 that'll be attached to. So I'll go ahead and cut those just all to that same length, and then basically just once they're all attached, hold it up here and figure out what needs to be trimmed down. Okay, so it's all hooked up here. I just held it up and it doesn't line up right. I don't fully know why. The 2x4 is hitting against this, so I don't know if that's playing a role in it. And the fact that it's kind of like on a slant. Like I said, there's a different height between all these, so I don't know if that's a factor in it as well, but I have to fix that. Okay, so just looking at this seems like it's definitely at least part of the issue. So if I line it up more towards the edge there, you can see it just bumps right into this. So I could either take this whole thing down, shift this piece over and put it all back up, or I can try to figure out how I'm going to cut a notch into this edge, however big that would need to be. I think I might do it that way because I really don't want to take this whole thing back down. Okay, so measuring this, it's something like 1 inch by 1 inch. Probably not actually that big, but just ballpark. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop this off. I'm going to take 1 inch off of that edge, and that 2x4 is obviously bigger than 1 inch. It's 1.5 inches, deep. So when I put this back on there and put it up, it should sit right up here with that this 2x4, essentially just going around it, and then the top one just going up here. Hopefully that solves the problem. I don't know if that actually fixed everything because I have to deal with that angling of it as well, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so I can't remember last time I filmed, but this is where we are at. It's partially in there. This top piece have a lot more screwing to do for that, but so far it's holding up there by itself right now, so it's looking good. So here it is. I'm going to throw in some more screws going along the bottom here and some screws going up to hit that metal stuff, and then I'll probably check on the roof, make sure there's no holes in the roof, and then the super big pain in the ass part of it will be done, and then I can just go ahead and figure out what I'm putting along the bottom and doing for the doors and all that stuff, which will be a lot easier than lifting this giant pain in the ass thing. Okay, so what I'm doing now is planning out all the wood that's going to go like on the front and everything. So I actually went, and this piece is one of the spare ones I had that I used for the wall, so I just grabbed that, and it's 1/2 inch thick, so I feel like that would be good for like the front, like the door of it, or whatever the hell you want to call it. The bottom, I might still use 1/2 inch on the bottom. I want something that's going to be sturdy enough that if I put something kind of heavy in here, it's not going to fall through. But basically I want to have a bottom piece that goes to the same height as this, because the piece that's going to go under here will be like that, and that way when I open it up, it'll have a piece here and then I'll have a piece here, so nothing is going to like just fall out because it'll be blocked by this piece. And now I'm also just working on figuring out what size hinges I'm going to use. I think the ones that I use on those seats will be kind of overkill, just because the doors aren't going to be nearly as gigantic and heavy as that. There's not going to be, I'm not going to be lifting 2x4s up with it or anything. So I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to do all that. Once I figure out the hinge size, I will know, how big of a piece I'm going to need attached towards the top here to hold the hinge. And then I can figure out exactly what size piece or pieces I'm going to be having in the middle here that will actually lift up. So that's where we are at. All the screws are in there now. I did use some of the 3-inch ones to go up. I actually used all 3-inch ones going up into it because there's kind of a gap there for whatever reason. That's just how it turned out. I don't know. But that'll be kind of covered up once I use that piece to go along the top here for the hinges anyway, so it's alright. Yeah, all of them came out pretty good. You can see like some of them hang down lower than the other piece. The only one that's kind of screwed up is the one down here, but that's alright, it's just at the corner here. I kind of screwed up when I cut this. I cut it and then moved this all the way over flush with it rather than leaving it hanging over. So it just kind of came out weird like that, but whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I think I still might have the original hinges that I used for the bench, so I'm gonna look for those real quick because those are smaller and they might actually work out really well, and then I can use those just for measurements and maybe even just use them for the actual cabinet itself. All right. Okay, so I was working on figuring out the stuff on the bottom here, getting some lines drawn, some figuring out. But in order to get the piece to fit properly here, I'm gonna need to chop off the edges on a couple of these. I do not want to take all this down because that means removing all these screws, those screws, taking the whole thing out, and then trying to get back in here and screw back up in the same spot. I'm just not doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and, like I did one time before, I forget what the hell I was doing. I think I was working on something over on that zone or something. I'm gonna try to just cut it in here. It'll make a mess, but at least I don't have to rip this all out of here. So let's see how well this goes. Okay, so I have these three trimmed down, and everything is just covered in sawdust everywhere. Just gonna finish up these last two. I don't think actually, yeah, this one I don't need to cut at all. So just this one, the last little bit, and then I'm gonna try to figure out how the hell I'm gonna clean all this sawdust out of here. Okay, so I put up the first side piece here. You can see the screws. This sits on top of here, so that way it's flat up against here, keeping everything that's inside and not having a big gap. There's no other screws going back here because it's not up against something like it is here, but it is being held in up against all this wiring and junk, so it seems to be pretty secure back there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this side in now, so that way it'll be taken care of, and then I'm gonna figure out what wood I want to use down here. I like this wood, but the issue is that this is 6 inches, this is 14, so if I put two of them up here, I need to then make just a bunch of 2-inch strips to again go, you know, the rest of the length along everything, which is just gonna suck, and it's gonna be so thin that's gonna be, you know, a pain in the ass to put screws in without it like splitting or anything. So I'm thinking about maybe doing something different besides that exact size piece. But for right now I'm gonna get this in here, and then we'll see what time it is and figure out if I'm gonna try to keep screwing around with stuff or not. Okay, so both of those side pieces are on there. I think I'm just gonna do some research tonight, figure out what I want to use for the bottom, and all that fun stuff, and then tomorrow I can get to work on that.